One of the outstanding characteristics unique to human beings, along with speech, the use of tools, and thinking consciousness, is upright posture. There are other animals that are bipedal, such as penguins, kangaroos, and certain rodents, and so on. But none of these have a truly upright posture as we find in humans. Upright posture has important psychological effects, such as the ability to stand over against the environment in a subject-object relationship. But I will mostly confine the discussion here to the morphological and developmental aspects of this phenomenon. It is interesting to note that as a child, we learn to stand upright around the age of 1 and slowly master the different kinds of movement, from walking to toddling or trotting along, to going up steps, eventually to running and jumping, and even to skipping. We go through a whole series of steps in the course of our younger years, and developmental experts say that it is only around the ages of 7 or 8 that the child fully masters all these forms of movement. What's unique in human being is that all of this requires individual effort. In animals, taking their final stance and acquiring their forms of movement, usually on 4 feet, does not require individual effort. It comes by instinct. Human beings learn to stand by imitation. We see others around us standing and we imitate. And in order to attain that upright posture, we need to make a great effort. And you will have probably seen the joy and sense of accomplishment that the child experiences and the parents experience when he or she stands upright and takes their first steps. All of that requires the human will. Is it not also possible that in ancient times, early hominins also exerted willpower in attaining an upright stance? Could this internal factor, the human will, play an important part in the human line of evolution? This is something that deserves further thought and research. Also notable is the fact that fossils of the earliest species in the human line, around 7 million years ago, already stood upright and walked on 2 feet, even when they had relatively small brains. Earlier scientists always thought that the large human brain preceded the upright stance, but we now know that this is not true. When we investigate the phenomenon of upright posture, the development of the human vertebral column is of the utmost interest. The biologist Frederick Kipp, in his book Childhood and Human Evolution, has written, "Of special note is the fact that the human spinal column takes on its final form only after uprightness has been achieved. In early infancy, the curvature of the spine is simple, as shown in this picture. The double curve, suited to the static conditions of upright posture, comes about only gradually after uprightness has been attained. The functional achievement does not arise as a result of pre-existing anatomical structure. On the contrary, the achievement precedes the structural development and determines its further course. The fact that we stand upright means that we can carry the weight of the torso in a very efficient way, to a great extent released from the forces of gravity. For instance, we are leaning forward out of the upright position. When we do this, there is a great deal of torque involved in carrying the weight of the rib cage, which hangs below us, as we find in most animals. When the vertebral column is horizontal to the surface of the earth, and where the animal is moving through space led by their head, their muscles must do work against the forces of gravity in order to carry their torso. This is not the most efficient way to carry this weight. Humans' upright posture allows the mechanical elements of the skeleton to play a strong role, allowing much of the torque to disappear. And we are allowed to stand in this upright posture with a fair amount of ease. Upright posture is very efficient for carrying things, which human beings do because our hands are freed from the necessities of locomotion. Our hands are freed to work and to carry things. We can imagine that for early human beings, carrying things was very important, as it is for modern humans. To carry something, we simply adjust our stance and our muscle tension to effect an even distribution of weight in an effective way. If early human beings were bent over, as some biologists and evolutionists still think, the efficiency of carrying things would have been greatly reduced. In fact, it's not probable that beings in the human line of evolution went through a phase where they were bent over for a few million years and gradually became upright. It is known that characteristics that are not efficient and are not needed are usually eliminated as evolution moves forward. The idea that humans went from a horizontal orientation to a partially vertical stance for a few million years, and then finally a fully vertical stance, is not a true image. In addition, and importantly, the fossil record gives us no examples that humans were ever bent over. Again, the first hominins, such as the famous Lucy, dated to about 3.2 million years ago, were upright. So the well-known cartoon showing the series of postures from the horizontal ape-like ancestor to the bent-over pre-human, finally leading to modern human, is a false picture based on a popularized version of evolutionary theory. Another interesting fact from the fossil record concerns the ancestors of chimpanzees and gorillas. We find many fossils of ancestors of the monkeys and lower apes from the Miocene time, some 15 or 20 million years ago, but we do not find the fossils of the ancestors of the chimpanzees or gorillas. I found this noted in more than one source. The most authoritative source is Donald Prothero's book, Human Evolution, what it says and why it is important, why it matters. He is an expert in his field, a leader of the Skeptic Society, and is still living and working. Prothero writes, "Unfortunately, we have lots of fossil apes, but no clear-cut fossils of chimpanzees or the gorilla clan just yet. Probably because most of these apes have always lived in forests where there is scant chance of fossilization." So Prothero gives a possible reason why we haven't found these fossils, but other authors say that it is highly improbable, a 300 to 1 improbability that we wouldn't find them, because the ancestors of human beings lived in those forests too, and yet we find their fossils. These facts from the fossil record, along with the facts concerning such things as the shape of the human skull, the position of the foramen magnum, and hair on the body, give us food for thought when we consider humans' relationship to their closest relatives.